Hello, everyone. Welcome to the stream. Today we made it to 1,000 subs, so we're just kind of celebrating, and I just wanted to chat with you guys for a moment. Now, the channel only has 1,000 subs, which is obviously great. I'm so glad we're here, but I hardly do live streams, so I know that a large part of this, I'll be talking to a bit to an empty room, and I know a lot of you will be watching this after the fact. If you have questions, comments, anything you have for me, I almost went with like an AMA type format, but I don't really want to do an AMA, which is ask me anything. But if you'd like to ask questions, I'm more than happy to answer a lot of things, I suppose. It just felt like putting AMA in the title was a promise that I didn't really want to fulfill. So yeah, we have memberships live on the channel now, as well as full monetization via ads, which is awesome. Be able to start generating a bit of revenue. Obviously won't be much for a long time. If you guys are interested in supporting the channel, if you're somebody who likes what I do, all you got to do is go onto the primary tab here, and you'll see a join button, and you click that, and there are several different tiers here. Now, I didn't grow up necessarily with a whole lot, and so I don't want to gate any of my content behind a paywall. But if you would just like to support the channel because you like what I do, you want me to do more of it or what have you, there's different tiers, and that's all this is meant to be, is different tiers. YouTube makes me put that, you get some things for, paying more or what have you. Generally speaking, you're not getting more for paying more. I want to make that absolutely clear. And again, the whole point of that is that you're only doing this, I hope, to support me. There is a high likelihood in the future that I will add some videos here that will be just for channel members and stuff like that. The idea of this is that those will be kind of unscripted or less scripted videos where I am just kind of talking about, what I'm working on, what I've been reading, what have you, things that I would maybe like to talk about, but I just know that I'm not going to have time to spend on them to make them into a full blown video and what have you. And so that might be some of the content that's gated behind this. And part of the process and part of the reason for that as well, why I do that, is because if you're a channel member, you already hopefully like what I do, and you're interested in seeing what I see, or seeing what I do rather. And I don't want to put out unscripted or lower maybe quality, lower quality, I think that's fair to say, videos to just anybody so that anybody can tune in. Obviously, I always want to give you guys my best, but if I'm going to be able to put out more content, part of that is reducing the quality and saying, hey, here's just me chatting and telling you what I think about a particular product that maybe won't make it to the to the reviews on the channel for some period of time or something like that. So that is the plan. It starts at $1 a month with a rules lawyer. Rules lawyers have a bad rap, I feel like. Rules lawyers can be some of the most valuable people at your table. I know that they are at mine. Having someone, I think that obviously there's a negative connotation of someone who's like, no, the rules say this and you have to do that. Obviously, that's not good. But someone who knows all the rules when you're a GM and you're like, hey, how does this work? And they can be like, oh, yeah, it's at least found on this page and what have you, can be incredibly valuable and helpful. I know I've tried to be that for other GMs that I've played with in the past, and I certainly appreciate it when they're at my table. We also got some fun icons. We need a name for our mimic. I need to name this guy. I need to talk to some friends, see if we can come up with something, but you get access to those as well, and I think that's about it. So you can find it here or anywhere you click on a video. I'm scared to click on one of these in my autoplay. Yeah, there we go. Or you should also be able to find it. Should be able to, oh yeah, join, there you go, besides subscribe. So that's where it's at. If you're interested, love to have you guys. And yeah, my plan, the other part of this video is just to kind of give you guys an idea of what my plan is for the future and for the channel and what have you. So I have a huge backlog of games that I would love to review. For those who don't know, I also have been covering digital games for a bit now. I just really like YouTube and I want to do this full time. And the tabletop channel, even though I've been doing that probably the longest, or I don't know, about the same time as I've been playing digital games, but I've never really stopped tabletop games. There was a point in my life where I paused on digital games for a little bit because I had a bit of a problem. And so my idea here is that I'll be able to continue doing reviews and stuff like that on the channel. I didn't know covering digital games is completely different than covering tabletop games, and I had no idea. I assumed these industries would be very similar. I think the tabletop industry is just a lot smaller, and In the digital games industry, there's kind of this we won't go into it too much into detail, but there's kind of this unhealthy relationship. Certainly it's bad for consumers, where there's kind of access journalism, and a lot of times companies will, hey Scott, what's going on, thanks for dropping by, it's nice not to be chat, not to just be talking to myself. If you join late, if you have any questions about anything about what I'm doing, what have you, please feel free to go ahead and throw them out there. I'm happy to answer and chat a little bit. But in the digital space, it's really hard to get review codes for things. It's really hard to be able to, because if they know if they send them to certain outlets that are large and stuff like that, that they will get a positive review, or they won't get too negative of a review. If you're not familiar with the digital gamescape, it's like almost a meme. It's incredibly bad. Like pretty good games will get the same review, like, oh, a 7 or 8, as like a game that's like not, it's just really bad. They charge a lot for it too, right? The more you charge, if it's an indie game, you don't expect that much. But so-called AAA games will actually get like really high reviews, even though they're really bad. And so when I went to Gen Con last year or the year before, I was like, cool, well, let me try it. I would love to review some products. I'm a small channel, small creator. I can't possibly buy all these products. Let me see if I can get some review copies of stuff. And everybody, most companies are happy to do that. Now, not everybody. Some are a little bit hard to get to, but compared to digital games, it's night and day. In digital games, if it's like pulling teeth, and it's really hard. So I got all these games to review, mostly digital copies, because that's what I was asking for, because that's free for the company, and it's easy for me and how I edit and everything. I don't have to actually have a camera, take a picture of the book. I can just pop up the PDF and everything like that. And it's like, yeah, this works well for my workflow. And I just got a lot, and I was like, oh my God, I don't even, I gotta get through these. These guys gave me these, games to review, and I really got to get through them. Now, one of the things is I playtest everything with various groups and what have you before I do a review on it, unless it's something that doesn't need that. Like, I'm trying to think of an example, but there's a few things that maybe I've covered in the past, or maybe I will in the future, that maybe don't need as much playtesting, such as like a supplement where it's like, here's an adventure or something like that, where there's nothing new or different about the adventure. It is just how good is the story, how do things flow, and it works the same, like Dragonbane. If their new adventure works the same as their old adventure and there's nothing real mechanically different, I can see like not necessarily playtesting at least the full thing, because that's going to take weeks and weeks, right? Nobody's doing that. That's not possible. So that might be a situation where I kind of talk about it and just can do something shorter. Scott, Scott asked, "Do I have a regular group that I playtest with?" Man, I have several, and my friends, I'm a problem. I beg, I borrow, I steal, I do whatever I need to. So one thing that's been really helpful is that with the digital channel, I have a Discord of about 1,500 people, and some of those people also play TTRPGs, and some of them over time, I've been doing that for several years. I even met some of them at a convention. So we play online together, and I convinced some of them to, like, hey, come help me play test. And it's a huge problem. It's actually something I want to talk about, because I want to skip over here in a little bit. I want to talk about Seth Skorkowski's. He talked about TTRP G reviews, and so I don't want to get too much into it, but yeah, absolutely, man. We've got our core group that meets once a week. I've got another Monday night group that whenever I need to play test something, I hit them up. It's some friends, husband and wife, and so there's at least four of us there. Maybe we pull in a couple of other people, and then I also have a Wednesday night group that I've used to kind of play test stuff with. So yeah, and then I'm also looking at, on one night a week, going to my local game shop and hosting a game, and being able to run, like, hey, I've talked to them, they're cool with it, I can bring a game and like play test it. It's near a college, and so I haven't done that yet, and I'm not sure what it's going to look like, but hopefully getting good feedback from everybody is one of the hardest parts, but it's generally speaking been really good. I haven't done it with total strangers yet, though, but yeah, I do much the same. Friday nights are our sessions. Okay, cool. And do you also, Scott, I'm sorry, are you also here on YouTube, man? Are you also doing reviews and stuff like that? Or are you just talking about your own personal games and stuff like that? But yeah, so that's kind of the idea. I like to play test everything, and it's honestly one of the biggest logistical hurdles, because if people cancel on you because life comes up or what have you, I mean, they're not getting paid. And I don't want to be completely odious to my friends as I, convince them to play test various games because they might not like some of them. I actually had this. Okay, just gaming on Fridays. Okay, cool. Yeah. We do a Saturday morning group and that's our GURPS group right now. For the most, I say it's GURPS group. We flex and do some other stuff. What are you running in your Friday group, if I can ask? What system? And sorry to jump back. Start Here is one of those games where my players, a couple of my players, kind of not mutinied, but they were just like, yeah, hey, so are we gonna do something else this week, or are we still doing that adventure? And part of that was my fault, and part of it was a little bit the system. They weren't super happy with it, and some of the people at the table were also fine with it. So it just kind of depends, right? And that's all good feedback and stuff like that. So that's something that is a continual logistical problem. But I'm lucky, and I try as best I can to make even if they don't like the system, I try to put a lot of effort into it being enjoyable for them so that they can have a good time. At least that's my goal. Running 5e, but you're thinking of jumping and do Castles and Crusades. Okay, that's cool. I have not checked that out yet, but it's on the very long list of things to try. You'll have to let me know what you think about it if you don't mind. Drop me some in the Discord or something like that if you if you have a chance to try it out in a few months or a few weeks or whatever. I'd love to give it a shot, or at least know what it's like before I give it a shot, rather. And so, yeah, anyways, TTRPG reviews are something that's pretty high on my list as far as like one I want to be a core part of the channel, just reviews in general. I also have done a few war games, and so, I want to do more of that. I'm interested in that space, but for so long I feel like it's been inaccessible, and I feel like there's a lot of people that are like me that don't want to spend $1,000 just in the first year to get into Warhammer 40K. And it's funny because like hardcore, we're all trying to gateway our friends into playing our games. Hardcore 40K fans will be like, no, you don't need to spend that much. Like, you could probably get by on, I don't know, pick a number, right? But I've actually been told by by people that played a long time and actually work at a Games Workshop, store, that like close to 1,000 is really what you should expect. And I'm just not really here for that kind of financial commitment, to be totally honest with you. So trying out things that are, war games in a box and what have you is something that's pretty interesting to me. And then the other thing is like board games just more in general. And I hope that will be kind of a core, hopefully, I don't know, roughly a third of what I do. I'd love to do a little bit more GM content. Recently we've seen a lot of channels, several channels that have folded, pretty big channels in the YouTube space, which is kind of heartbreaking. I'm sure it is. I know it is for me. I'm sure it is for you guys. I really like some of the guys over at oh my gosh, Man Shorts, yeah, and Yazik, who's who always plays the GM and is a big part of, I think, what they do. That he actually makes like really good music. I actually really like his stuff, and I actually hired him. They're it's a little bit rough right now. They're making hardly anything for that channel, and I'm sure they have expenses. So he offered to help generate revenue while he's transitioning out of YouTube and maybe getting a regular day job. So I'm in a position that I was able to or not maybe, but I was able to pay. He's offering commissions for various songs or what have you. So I was able to do that. So hopefully here in a couple of weeks I'll actually have just like a brief intro or something from him, which I just think is really cool. And honestly, if I got nothing in return, just helping them out a little bit because I can is a great thing. So just kind of works out for me. And hopefully we'll have some cool like intros or something from him. But anyways, there's a lot of creators in the space right now that are not doing incredibly well, and I know there's like a lot of GM advice out there. I think there's a lot of really good advice. I think maybe this is, hopefully, if you're doing something like this, you got to have a little bit of belief in yourself. Hopefully it's not arrogance, but I have confidence there's something unique as far as like to players and to GMs that I can, knowledge and stuff that I can pass on. So I hope to continue to do that as well with GM advice and what have you. And and I think there's plenty of room for other stuff as well. So that's kind of my plan for the future. I think other things that I don't really feel like I would want to make a whole channel about. I know people have whole channels about like making essentially arts and crafts type stuff for a tabletop RPG. I don't want to do all that. But I do think that there are some things that can be very useful for people and very easy, like low effort stuff for GMs and stuff like that. So those kind of videos, I've got a bunch planned. It's just having time to simply, put them all into action and actually, get them onto the channel in a high quality format. I have already taken down some videos that I'd done a while ago. I really only started the channel. Technically, it's been almost 2 years, I think, like a year and a half or something like that. But I made a couple of videos and I just didn't have time. So then the channel set essentially dormant for about a year. So it's only been about the last like 9 months that I've been able to actually consistently start making videos. And as time goes by, hopefully I'll get faster and faster. Once all of these TTRPG, like most of them, are out of the way, and I reviewed a lot of the older stuff, I hope to be able to keep up with current trends and what's coming out and what have you. So, anyways, that is the plan for the channel, I guess, moving forward. And yeah, it's great to be monetized and be able to make a little bit of revenue, and hopefully I think definitely actually the memberships, not subscriptions or whatever, will be a big part of that. So yeah, that's it for this. I think we're gonna jump over. So it should kick you right over, Scott, and anybody else who's hanging out. It should kick you right over to. I want to look at this the next live stream here, and I want to look at Seth's video and kind of talk about it a little bit. I actually know somewhat of how Seth feels about this, and I think I agree, and so at least to a large extent. And I'm just curious what someone who's a little bit larger on the channel has. So give me just a moment while I do that. And again, it should kick you over to the live stream. It'll pause for a second, and then I should come right back. So let me just do that now, and that'll also save this part of the video as a VOD for everybody if they want to watch it later. All right, so I'm going to do that right now, guys.